Actually, give people human rights. On his deathbed, Kim Jong-un named you as the next supreme leader of North Korea. What's your move? Make sure to keep the military and political leaders paid as to not get immediately assassinated, then slowly make behind closed doors deals with other nations to relieve sanctions without upsetting China, my only ally. Change the name of the country to Bananarama and make the national anthem Venus. The supreme leader has a limo which he makes his security detail run alongside when it moves. First thing I do, see how long they can run. I try to do good things at first, but the power will probably go to my head and I'll turn into a shit leader. Sorry North Korea. Has every building moved, brick by brick, exactly 1 mile to the west? Just cause that's the kind of batshittery that's expected of the position. Then talk to South Korea about reunification under their control. Lock away Kim's sister before she tries to assassinate me too, then ban puffed rice cakes. There is no reason for those to exist. I'd probably just continue my normal life in America, then someone else seizes control of North Korea. Because realistically I'd just get assassinated the moment I step foot in North Korea. All these other people trying to do anything else in this thread ends up dead while accomplishing nothing. Step 1. Make sure that the other political leaders, for example officers, of the DPRK respect me, aka pay them off. Step 2. Secretly have meetings with South Korea to get the countries reunited, with me still having a large position of power in the north. Step 3. When that's done, get people to assassinate other officials in the DPRK. Step 4. Everyone has a better life. Alternatively, nuke America. You would most likely end up being killed by the government if you try to do anything against the norm over there. Immediately negotiate a total turnover of all nuclear materials in North Korea in exchange for $10 billion and immunity worldwide from and relocation to Dubai or some other rich man's paradise. North Korea is practically a living movie set, so I would lease out the city to Hollywood and start raking in that easy money for the country. Maybe make my own La La Land set in Pyongyang. Gradually turn things around. Give them uncensored access to the internet. Turn things into a democracy slowly. Make everyone in the country believe the last supreme leaders were bad and make my people seek democracy, later reuniting with South Korea. Also, before I'd open the borders and force the military to disband. Basically all day every day would be that scene in the interview, blowing shit up with tanks, drinking, smoking, shooting hoops, and lots of pussy. Make North Korea the largest producer of marijuana and fix its bad rep. Just like chill everyone the fuck out and opens up to tourism. Probably disband the military and give control over to South Korea to properly reintegrate as a one peoples. I am not a supreme leader material. Do you know how in some countries, lottery winners are not required to disclose their identity when claiming their prize? And so they wear these big, elaborate costumes that completely obscure their identity? I would then gradually introduce a cadre of similarly dressed impersonators, Amidala style. Eventually, you'd have no idea if it was really me addressing the country or yet another clone. Soon, everyone realizes assassination attempts are wholly and utterly useless. Meanwhile, I moved back to the States where I would promptly lose the costume and rule remotely via my new army of North Korean furies. Move into a heavily fortified house, get an armored Hummer, and hire 5 personal bodyguards. I've just become a target for the North Korean elite, China, Japan, and NATO. Practical and ugly with historical precedent. Liberate the camps. Execute the last vestiges of the previous despotic regime to limit the possibility of a coup. Disseminate propaganda touting a new era of justice and anti-corruption measures. Develop the framework for a preliminary representative democracy to signal a change in era. Purge the courts. Bribe parts of the military into loyalty, not just with cash but titles. Dispose of the rest. Start a North Korean bobsled team. Everyone knows that Kim Il-sung is still supreme leader from beyond the grave, so I would leave it to him. First, find loyal people, like really loyal, execute all political opponents, and everyone looking to be supreme leader threaten those loyal people that they'll meet the same destiny. If I ever feel threatened the slightest, announce everyone is free, The border is open, distribute any personal wealth to people, open up to other countries. Why this way? Well, Un is rumored to be a bit different than his predecessors, and he even has a lot of Western culture in him. It's even said he dislikes what's going on. However, there is also a rumor that trying to change the country would get him killed instantly due to power-hungry people around him. Get rid of those, make common men your friend and advisors, and then you can do whatever. It sends my nuke to Seoul and set off the real apocalypse. Let the descendants of the mighty cockroach do better than we did with the planet. Probably a good thing I'm not in any position of power. Purse pan-Korean interests and assist ongoing revolutions and Marxist insurgencies such as the one in eastern India. Take over Africa. Then create an army to get rid of the warlords. They have both Africa and Korea learn to need jobs like being doctors or pilots and investing. Then use the youth of both countries to become the next America. Then make America the second world superpower. I'd ask America to join me and start World War III so the world economy would become. I create a bunch of human rights laws, declare that once the pandemic ends we will open our borders. I rearrange the political system to be identical to democracy except, for one thing, an elected leader. So once I'm finished making all of my changes, I declare that I'll be stepping down as supreme leader once North Korea elects its first president, who will serve for a period of 4 to 8 years. Build up the people, open the ports, join the UN, slowly have people join an underground force, wait for the US to fall, take over the US, kindly take over Canada, take over the world, bring peace, then ruin it all by making countries hate each other again. Assuming that the virus is already dealt with by this time, I would locate all works of literature, art, and propaganda created about North Korea's isolationist communism and put them in a museum so that people can view it and remember a time that would be later known as a dark age in the country. After the history is safely secured, I would do my best to tear down the governmental forces of NK by slowly implementing more freedoms with the people. If the generals and political officers felt threatened by the change in power, I would do my best to assure them that they would be keeping their jobs, but with a few changes to better help the country's future. Eventually, once I have gotten the majority of the major influencers in NK on my side, be it through charm or bribery, I would then work on improving relations with South Korea, hopefully resulting in a peaceful union between the two countries. The country formed from this alliance, New Korea, would focus its efforts on balancing the economy, helping the northern side grow while also helping the southern side with their problems. Eventually, once that is settled, we will work on dismantling any nuclear devices, hopefully, to use their parts in something less deadly, though I would keep one just in case. I would also slowly open up trade between many countries after a while, hopefully improving the value of NK's economy. And, that's all I can think of at the moment. Offer to rename the country Boeing and invite the company to resettle there, to produce and eventually develop all its products there with very few taxes. Highly profitable, an army of eager to work employees for very modest pay, no pesky labor unions that Boeing's been working to kill off, anyway. As supreme leader, would relax and let profits roll in while sitting back and drinking Long Island iced teas all day. Consolidate my new position and marry several women for political reasons. Get a few concubines for fun. Open the country up a little bit and release to most reformed of the political prisoners to improve my international image, enter into negotiations with the world to improve the country and as a result expand my power over the people. Seeing as I'd be a figurehead in all ways but in the eyes of the people, due to the fact that I have zero legitimacy outside of the fact that Jong-un named me, I'd most likely continue the status quo, for fear of being assassinated, then run the fuck home, before I'm actually assassinated. First world adaptation. First, no brutal and stupid rules and censorship. Secondly, start pumping up the economy and enable the internet for all, build shops and manufacture and import goods such as food, clothing, cars, and everything else. Long comment short, turn it into a normal country like any other first world country. And also get rid of all those traps such as the big rocks near the borders and all that military shit. And furthermore, execute all other government personnel and introduce democracy. Day 1, declare it a democracy so I don't become sick with power. Set up a system of checks and balances, destroy all the Kim Jong-un /il/etc. statues, and institute term limits for the presidency. Pardon all the criminals, since so many of them are innocent and their charges were forged, and then finally resign on day 2 and nominate some other poor sucker to be president. First continuing nuke test etc. and then suddenly starting making NK a normal country with the internet, free media, etc. Thank you for watching Reddit Space. Please subscribe if you love these Reddit stories.